Level 2 has begun. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bust, but everybody else in between 40-40. NC State and Virginia right now with 11 and a half minutes left. Just quickly, as far as Russell Wilson is concerned, as we were just talking about, he had 26 touchdown passes last year and only 8 interceptions. His quarterback rating was 98. All right? Like, for all the doom and gloom about Russell Wilson, his numbers were actually pretty good last year. And don't be fooled by, it's not like the Denver Broncos were like a quarterback away from being a good team or something like that. Like, the Broncos are not a good team. They have a lot of holes. Their defense is ranked like 27th in the National Football League last year. Nothing to do with Russell Wilson. Mick is all mad about Jerry Jeudy being a bust. Like, I've said this for years. People get mad at a player instead of getting mad at the team for actually drafting someone, right? Like, it's not Jerry Jeudy's fault he got drafted before CeeDee Lamb. That's the Broncos' fault. Or Justin Jefferson. Why didn't the Broncos, right? But then people, put it on the player after. It's interesting. I get it. Jeudy didn't work, but that's not Russell Wilson's fault. It's not Russell Wilson's fault that their O-line sucks and they strike out every time they draft an O-lineman. It's not Russell Wilson's fault they don't have a rushing game. Right? It's not Russell Wilson's fault their secondary's depleted. Right? Like, their roster is just sort of a mess. So it's not, they're not just a quarterback away. Like, I genuinely hope for J.J. McCarthy's sake that he ends up with the Minnesota Vikings instead of the Denver Broncos, because I believe the Vikings are a much healthier situation to step into. We're going to bring Lou in a couple of seconds here. Shout out to everybody joining us on Sirius XM Channel 159. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency on the SportsGrid radio and television networks. The madness continues collegiately. The Arizona Wildcats, the latest one seed to bite the dust tonight. One after another, it's chaos. And the tournament hasn't even started yet. Let's send it to Arizona. Lou, Gamblu.com. In the house. Great to have Lou back in the rotation. Lou, great to see you. Thanks for spending some of your Friday night with us. How you doing tonight, Lou?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. As an Arizona alum, I have to tell you, I thought they would roll through the tournament, the PAC tournament, win it, and then stub their toe on the Sisters of the Poor in the first round. Looks like Dana Altman did it to them early.
And this is a special Pac-12 tournament, the last one ever, huh? It's kind of weird to say this, but it's the last, I don't know about ever. It's such a great brand name. It's just, this whole thing is just it's crazy to me that it's actually gone down this way. But this Arizona team, they're just not disciplined enough. Yeah, they're a bunch of talented kids. They can score. They turn the ball over too much. They're undisciplined. They take a lot of fouls. And I just have a hard time buying into them in the big picture, but I'm shocked they lost to the Ducks tonight as well.
Gabriel, I have to disclose, this clearly is not my lane. I know so little even about my own Arizona team, but it just seems like what they're trying to do is emulate what Kentucky does and bring in a bunch of new players each year. I don't know if that's good or bad. But it is what it is, and it looks like now I'll go back to rooting for another team that got upset recently, my hometown Omaha Creighton Blue Jays.
Nothing but pain for Lou Gamblu. But let's look back at last week's UFC card. Great job breaking down the card. I had a great time doing it with you. And the night started off with Calderwood / Wood with the win. There were a couple of underdogs that ended up cashing. There were some very entertaining fights through the night. What was your final report card, and how did you do when it was all said and done?
It was the best night in maybe a year, except for Yadong. We had Wood, we had Curtis Blades. I called Dustin Poirier, who opened plus 120, closed at plus 170 to 185, depending where you shopped. Just an absolute disrespect. The Benoit Saint Denis athlete is big and strong, but he lacked pedigreed competition. He throws wide shots with his face and chin straight up in the air. and Poirier completely earned him, awarded him his PhD in MMA. Now, we talked about the staph infection. He ended up saying that he fought with it. Staph infection or not, that result was going to be the exact same, Gabriel.
Yeah, I think, and this happens to fighters often, it kind of freaks them out when they give somebody their best shots and it doesn't finish the fight, right? And especially someone like St. Denis that had been finishing people as much as he had been. Poirier is just so tough because Poirier was getting beat up pretty good. He even admitted it after, right? And after the fight in the cage when he said, man, I was getting beat up there for a couple of minutes, right? But he, that's part of being the elite fighter that he is. He's able to absorb it, regroup. And because I didn't like it early, he kept on going for these guillotines that had no hope in hell of ever working. That never works, Lou. This isn't you're not a 2-0 fighter against someone. It's not going to work. And I think it drains you. You're trying to, you know what I mean? It doesn't work. And he kept doing it all the time. And I was like, bro, this is not a good strategy you have. But St. Denis just sort of gassed and Poirier caught him. And then as you and I talked about, that's what I was proud of, too, because we talked about that, Lou, about the potential staph infection and about how draining it can be and affect people's preparations for a fight due to the antibiotics that they're on. And he said it after. Not that it was an excuse, but it's just factual.
Yeah, and really what was amazing about it is after the first round, they're screaming at Poirier in the corner, get off the guillotine, because not only is it risky and it never works, as you point out, but you go from at least an on-par position or a dominant position to a passive position, and you're on your back
when you pop out of it. Yeah, you're extending energy with his arm, and then you pop out of it, and you're on your back.
That's right.
And he did it 3 times.
It was incredible. After the fight, he says he's going to keep doing it too. Now, if they give him Makhachev next, that's the last thing he can do, because this vice grip called Makhachev, if he gets on top of Poirier, Poirier has been submitted before, and that'll be a bad result.
I was impressed with O'Malley's performance. I jumped on him before the fight started, and I took him to win via decision as well. And I got it at a nice number, plus 175, a little bit of an odds boost, but very impressive performance from him. I look forward to your take on the other side. Where does he go from here? Will he really? I don't think the UFC, he's not going to Spain, bro. I don't think they want him going to Spain. I think they want to build up O'Malley, and that's not a way to build him up. Send him to the Matadors, running with the Bulls out there. It's to Poirier. I don't think that's the way they want to go. But Davishella, either way, he's got to fight someone really tough and really. But I respect the fact that he goes, bring it on. I don't care either one of them. But he goes, Ilya is more entertaining.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Betting in game, there's a big difference, right? The computer changes the number so often. I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot, and I'm getting this a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like technology can always like travel so fast.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
How about this? Nikola Jokic, heavy favorite here to -170 price, followed by SGA at +250, and Luka Doncic at a 7-1 price.
It would require a whole lot from Luka to, like, 15 of the next 20 games he has to have triple doubles, like something absurd. And it really just comes down to Jokic being amazing, doing everything that he's doing. Like, I hate to say it, but he's probably had this locked up the second Embiid was announced out.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. The Friday Night Free Show continues. We're kicking it with Lou from Gamblu.com. And we're just talking about Sean O'Malley's performance last week. For the record, Chito Vera was pretty gracious after the fight. He said, I gave him my best. Then that always happens, right? They're always after, and then after a couple of days, there's always but he brought up the fact that O'Malley was super greased up. And that's what smart fighters do, Lou. Right? Well, that's what smart fighters. Phil Baroni told me, too. GSP used to get accused of it all the time. And he'd say, look, he goes, they wipe me off. They see you right before. And I know you would know the trick, but just for people tuning in, these fighters, the smart ones, what they'll do, they'll actually bathe in Vaseline. So they'll get into a bathtub, and the bathtub will be full of Vaseline. And then after they get out, they rub it all off, take a quick little cold shower, get it off, you get it all off you. And then when you get in the cage after, when you start sweating, it just starts like leaking. And it just starts pouring out of you. And then guys can't get their hands on you and stuff. It's a slick move. And I don't know why Cheeto's bitching about it, because this isn't new, Lou. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why Cheeto's bitching about it, because did he attempt one takedown?
Did you try to grapple him?
Did he even clasp onto him? No, he didn't. That fight was a classic bullfight.
Pick apart. It was a pick apart fight. You're right.
O'Malley was the matador, and Cheeto tried to come in. Now, listen, we all knew that Cheeto was the least test for O'Malley. He was the best matchup for O'Malley, and all that's well and good. And all the easy tests are over now, because it's clearly going to be Merab next, and that's going to pose its own issues.
All right, so let's get into tomorrow's card. Let's start off with the main event, a battle of heavyweights. Lou, what do you think about Tabora versus Tuivasa?
I think that Tai Tuivasa has all the power in the world, but he's only got about 4 to 6 minutes of gas tank, Gabriel, and so he's going to have to get it done early. If this fight hits the second round, I think it transitions into Tybura able to start to get close, grapple, press Tai against the fence, and maybe eventually get him down. And if he does get him down, that'll signify the beginning of the end. Tybura is not necessarily a deft striker. He's got good kicks, but he's a good grappler, and he's very good from top position. Now, he weighs 247, Tai 266, and so he's going to have to manage that first 5 minutes and stay out of Tai's way. high, is desperate. He's lost his last 3 to really elite competition. He's going to go out there headhunting.
And Tabora is a patient fighter. So it's almost the contrast in which, as you stated, Tuivasa is going to come out hot early, looking to knock his head off, and the fact is Tabora's been known as being a slow starter even, but he for a heavyweight he'll pace himself, and he can also take a beating as well, right? His chin is pretty good. It's hard not to like Tybura in this fight, and over 1.5 rounds in my opinion.
I totally agree with both of those takes. Listen, the last 4 fight cards favorites, 37-12. I mean, it's just a ridiculous 75.5%. And so we can see on any line here, they're just bombing these favorites. This heavyweight fight's the only exception. We've seen just a little movement towards Tybura, and I agree with that move.
Well, this next fight I want to talk about, there's some pretty good names in the fight game if you're a fighter, but not much better than Battle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not much better than Brian Battle. So Brian Battle is a -180 favorite in this fight against Lusa. What do you make of this fight, Lou? And obviously, the company thinks this is going to be a fun one, the fact that they made it the co-main event.
Yeah, Battle opens 140, so we've seen some move on him. I'm on him earlier in the week at a little better price, but Battle is much the larger, longer, taller man. Lusa fights with great power, but he's recently transitioned to Florida where they're working on his wrestling game. Battle has traditionally had trouble with takedowns. So we know the plan from Lusa is to go in there and try and ground him and wrestle him up. Battle knows this. He's put on some weight and some muscle and some strength. Let's hope his cardio has kept up with his strength, because Battle wants to maintain distance and completely counterpunch Lusa coming in. Battle's got great power, and I really think he's a legitimate favorite in this fight.
At a decent number, -188 right now. That's the number I'm looking at. I'm going to go rapid fire so we get as many fights in as possible. I'll just ask you about this one, and I'll just give you the floor after and share whatever fights you want to talk about. But OSP is a +500 favorite. I won't even try to say the last name here, Lou. Let's just go with Kennedy here. You want to give him a shot here?
Yeah, Kennedy's big. He's big, he's huge, and he's got skills. But in the last few fights, if hit right on the point, he folds. He's got a weak chin. One thing OSP, the ex-college football player, still has, and he's fresh off a year layoff, is power and explosion. To me, a fight that opened at Kennedy -400's gone up to 650, 700. This is OSP or pass. And if you want to get cute, you prop it with OSP inside the distance or TKO or KO. That's the only way I could play that fight.
Anything else catch your eye here, Lou? Prelims or anything else on this card?
Yeah, I like Mike Davis, another heavy favorite against Nathan Levy. Levy is just out of his league here. But if we want to try and tackle a dog, short notice fighter, Mitch Ramirez comes in to fight Thiago Moises. And Moises has really... He's got the skills, but he's undersized here, and he's going to fight a guy in his debut that's going to be desperate. He's bigger than him, and I really think Ramirez's game here. I can see Ramirez price currently +295. I do think we're going to smell some dogs, but I see them more on the undercard as well as OSP and Tybura.
I love the fact that there's just a card every week right now at this time. What about Nunes and Chandler here? Any opinion on this? With Nunes being a -138 favorite? I'm thinking about pulling the trigger.
No, Nunes has profuse power, and I was all set to release Chelsea Chandler, who's so much bigger. However, Chandler was the last to step on the scale today. She looked drawn, wan, tired, and defeated. She missed weight by 2 pounds, and she's in against a power puncher, albeit one very much shorter than she. When you work that hard to lose that weight and you lose all the fluid in your brain, I think that puts you in a very dubious position. And I went from wanting to release her, Chandler, to not being able to use her.
Interesting. I'm glad I brought it up. All right, we got 1 minute here, Lou. I'll ask you where people can find you online, but anything else? Any other closing thoughts here on the way out?
No, I mean, Macy Chason and Patty Kianzid. Kianzid's a live dog. I'll just keep it short and sweet. Best way to find me, lou@gamblu.com. I do a couple podcasts each week. The Sneak Deep is an opening line review of each week's UFC fight. And then the About Business podcast are my final releases on Friday. Gabe, I love coming on. I sure appreciate you squeezing me back into the rotation. And good luck to everybody tonight playing basketball.
We love talking fights with you, and we're making more money doing it now that we have you back as well on Saturday nights. Great stuff, Lou. We'll catch you up here next week, and the NHL playoffs are rapidly approaching as well, around the corner.
That's right. Puck Passion's upcoming, and I sure appreciate coming on. Thanks, Gabe.
There's Lou, gamblu.com. Rob Vino steps up next. Bring it.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Betting in-game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the number so often. Like, I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot. And I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like, technology can only like travel so fast.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
How about this? Nikola Jokic, heavy favorite here to minus 170 price, followed by SGA at plus 250, and Luka Doncic at a 7-1 price.
It would require a whole lot from Luka to, like, 15 of the next 20 games he has to have triple doubles, like something absurd. And it really just comes down to Jokic being amazing, doing everything he's doing. Like, I hate to say it, but he's probably had this locked up the second Embiid was announced out.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Thanks to Lou from Gamblu.com for kicking it with us. I got to tell you, if you find a show that talks about as many different sports as we do, you find it. If you like to bet on sports, because we've already hit college basketball, we'll get it back into it. Waiting on Rob Vino right now. Talked UFC Fight Night tomorrow, AFL football. We've got you covered. All right, we've got you covered. We'll hit the NHL overnight card. We'll take a look at everything MLS. I've got some best bets for you, but of course we're in this college basketball rapture right now, and we're on the Virginia Cavaliers. I never pulled the trigger on any of these in-game totals. I was like waiting for the number, and this game is just sort of flown by right now. There's only 2 minutes left in this game. Virginia are up 55-50 on NC State right now. 55-50 Virginia, just the way they like it. 2 minutes left in this basketball game. Temple. We talked about Temple earlier, and we took Temple plus the points. We got Temple plus 6. Probably should have money lined it. They haven't won yet or anything, but it's amazing, isn't it? Temple, one of these losing teams that are just suddenly red hot. They were under suspicion and we should note, one thing about that report that came out, it was pretty slanderous in the sense that Temple is under investigation. And I guess we should have been more worded, or we should say Temple games were being looked at, because it sort of implied that kids on Temple were betting on games. There could be a lot of different things. Like a good example is Alabama fired their baseball coach 2 years ago because he was betting, right? It wasn't the players, it was the coach. So that whole report, it kind of put a bad light on Temple. Let's bring in Rob Vino, who's in Philadelphia right now. And I know Rob well, even though we've never met face-to-face, which is pretty crazy. We've been talking for like a long time, too. I think he's avoiding me. He's always I'm in Vegas, and he shows up like when I leave. Like when I'm taking off, that's when like Rob lands all the time. What's going on, Rob? How you doing, buddy?
I'm not that strategic, Gabe, so I can't for you at all. Yeah, it's just
no, but how about
crazy...
Temple? Like, how about this, right?
Right.
So, like I said, though, it was almost slanderous. It was like they're under investigation. Well, we don't really know. It almost implied like the players or something. We don't really know the details. But fact of the matter is, they were getting smoked all the time, and here they are right now. They're winning 36-31 as 6-point underdogs with 9 minutes left.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's almost as if the team read that newspaper article and knew they were under investigation and decided we got to get something done the right way. The coach can light a fire under them. I guess a gambling pro can light an even bigger fire.
It took the FBI, Rob.
Yeah. It's crazy because they weren't this good all year long. But that was a, when they dug Gabe, they found a total a couple of weeks before that dropped 6 points 2 hours before tip-off. I think against Tulsa, and that game stayed way under the number as well. So there were some things going on. And of course, Philly being Philly, you can't say that there was nothing going on there. Something was going on for sure.
It's always Philly. Like I said, all the NBA referees are from Philly, too. I don't like it. They got to break that up. It's like a jury that's been bought. Like if I was commissioner, I'd like replace all the Philly referees at the last second, too, right before the game. Oh, yeah, you thought you got that assignment, eh, Malloy? No, sorry, buddy. You're out. Right? Okay, so let's jump in here right now. Fairfield is up 64-61 on Marist with 5 seconds left. We'll keep our eye on that. So Temple and Charlotte, you and I like to bet overs. Thank God I'm not on the over of this basketball game. In-game total right now is 102.5. 39-34 with 7 minutes and 52 seconds left, Rob. And Temple are about to be in the Charlotte are about to be in the bonus. Temple have 5 fouls right now. What do you think about the in-game total here?
Yeah, if friends don't let friends bet Charlotte overs, right? I mean, even in game, you have to be a little bit leery with that particular team this season. I mean, sometimes they've been made low enough. There's a couple of teams that play with pace in that particular conference that have been able to drag Charlotte over the finish line. But, I just can't get interested with that team in a total as far as playing over is concerned. It's like, playing UVA over. Tonight, that number was 122, and you just knew. Don't get in front of that 122, play it under or let it go.
Yeah, I didn't end up touching. I've been tempted to jump in all game, but I have Virginia on the money line. They're up by 5 right now with $1.10 left. I did pull the trigger reluctantly, Rob. It was one of those, this is a high number, but I'm going to do it. I took the over 175 in Florida and Alabama. I actually have Florida at plus 1,400 to win the SEC tournament. Florida, right now, we're winning 80-58 on Bama, which could hurt the total actually a little bit. Did you bet the total of this game before the game started?
I took it at halftime. I saw 171 and a half, or was it 172 and a half? But I took it at halftime. So I was looking for at least 173 to win. And you're right, Gabe. I mean, Alabama slowed down distinctly from about the 10-minute mark of the first half on. It was kind of a neck and neck game. Both teams were scoring, and then Florida broke loose, and they broke loose ever since. Nate Oates, I don't know. This has not been good the last half dozen to 8 games as far as their zero defense is concerned. And now when they can't match you stride for stride, they're in deep trouble. But I wanted to say real quick, you're not alone in that Florida to win the SEC conference tournament. I got a lot of colleagues and friends that was the first thing they recognized was Todd Golden's bunch to potentially as the long shot pick in that particular tourney. And things are opening up a little bit for Florida here. So that ticket looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, plus 1,400 could be a nice, interesting situation tomorrow. Colorado and Washington State. Did you play this game, Rob?
I'm on the Washington State side. That was more of a just a gut feeling than anything I could back it with statistically, which these conference tournaments, sometimes you have to play them that way, gut feeling. But that's the way I'm on. I'm on Washington State full game.
I'll be honest with you, too. I took Colorado. Gut feel, just completely.
Yeah.
And I told DGen pick, like, I'm here. I'm like, I'm going to bet the game now. And it was like right before, I'm like, all right, you just give me Colorado, man, on the money line. I got him at minus 150 in game, actually, as a couple of minutes after tip off. Hawaii and UC Davis haven't tipped off yet. Any opinion on this one? This is a tricky game. We talked about this one with Merrill earlier a little bit. This is a tricky one. He was leaning UC Davis. I want to take Hawaii, Rob. Can you talk me in or out of it?
Well, I won't talk you off it because I don't have a good enough case for UC Davis to talk you off of it. But I know I could get you interested in over 135 and a half.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Because that's probably where I'll end up landing before game time. I got a few apps open here now, if something for tonight. But Davis is offensively capable. They do play good defense. Hawaii offensively capable, and that particular gym, the Dollar Loan Center, has produced some high-scoring games. So those Las Vegas gyms do produce some overs. They host a lot of tournaments. We get a lot of overs out of there, and maybe we can squeeze one more out of them.
And we've got UT Arlington, who lit it up last night. I was on them last night against Tarleton State. Tarleton, right now, plus 1.5, 144.5, Rob. Any opinion on this one?
I think Tarleton's the better team. I just don't have the guts to pull the trigger. I much more prefer to say that UT Arlington is an extremely fast tempo team. They don't always shoot straight, but I think they're going to make Tarleton go with them, and I don't think Tarleton's afraid. That's always the key. When the favorite, or in this case, it's almost a pick'em game, but when the better team, at least in my opinion, Tarleton, doesn't fear the underdog's fast tempo, then I usually think that game's going over. So that's the way I did play that one, as a matter of fact, Gabe, over the 145.5. So I'll live with that. I'll look in game to see if Tarleton's worth the play. I hope they don't get off to the huge start and then I lose all value, but that's possible.
Well, here we go, guys. 58-55. NC State's not going away, and they got the ball with 16.3 seconds remaining, and they just called a timeout. So they're down 3. And I got to tell you, Rob, for a team like Virginia, and I'm on the Cavs here, money line, so I didn't want to lay the 2.5 here with them, 2.5 or whatever, but for a team like Virginia that's not offensively potent and you're great defensively, you've got to hit your free throws. They've missed a bunch of free throws in the last 30 seconds here to allow this to be a 3-point game right now. Like, if you're not a great offensive team, if you think of Virginia, you think, they're going to hit 80, 90% of their free throws for sure. They're clanking these things.
And they haven't been that great all season. I recall a game about, I don't know, Gabe, these weeks fly by, but I'm going to say about a month, 5 weeks ago, where Virginia started the game going 0 for 10 from the foul line. I mean, they missed their first 10 free throws. And I'm thinking, this can't possibly be UVA. They're just not that good. Maybe NC State got tired in the end, but like you say, they're not going away yet. I don't know. They're just not the same team they usually are.
No, I can't buy in either. And I'm usually, I bet on them tonight, but in the big picture, I remember I think it was a North Carolina game, actually, who they'll get tomorrow. Was that the one where they scored like 45 points? Like they literally, really had a hard time. And I think North Carolina is a dangerous team. We were bringing them up earlier. They're 16-1 to win a national championship right now. To me, they're better than, I think North Carolina are better than Tennessee are. Tennessee have shorter odds. They're better than Auburn. I think I like North Carolina better than I like Purdue, Rob, and they're 16-1. We'll hit this on the other side because we got a break coming up. We'll get Rob's thoughts on the futures a little bit, but I'm looking forward to seeing this bracket finally on Sunday, just so we can really know how this is going to play out. But I like this Tar Heel team. UConn obviously are the best team, and Houston, pretty Captain Obvious, but I think it's true.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Betting in-game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the number so often. Like I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot. And I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like technology can only travel so fast.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
How about this? Nikola Jokic, heavy favorite here to minus 170 price, followed by SGA at plus 250, and Luka Doncic at a 7-1 price.
It would require a whole lot from Luka to 15 of the next 20 games he has to have triple doubles, like something absurd. And it really just comes down to Jokic being amazing, doing everything he's doing. I hate to say it, but he's probably had this locked up the second Embiid was announced out.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Well, you just can't make this up anymore. I was just saying. I just effing said. You've got to hit your free throws. Right? Like if you're Virginia, you could have iced this game. No. You're up 58-55 only because you keep missing free throws. You're up 58-55. There's like 3 seconds left in the game. You clank another free throw. You clanked them. You clanked them both. And they passed the ball up the court and hit a desperation 3 at the buzzer to send the game to overtime. We're going to overtime. 58-58. Underbettors are ripping their tickets up right now. And I'm kicking myself because there were so many times I wanted to jump in on the in-game over, and I never did it, Rob, and I was happy I didn't, and now I'm not happy. This is welcome to March Madness, huh? Freaking Virginia, man. This team, man. I swear. I like free throws. Hit your goddamn free throws. It's pretty simple.
And especially for them, right? I mean, that's something, like you said, they have to be able, the style they play, you got to recruit to that. Yeah, and generally they can do it. But they've blown free throws all season long. It's not a mirage tonight. They've just not been a good free throw shooting team. And there's been more than this one instance. I don't know how. And again, this is where me and analytics don't get along, because I don't know how Virginia gets to be such a shoo-in to begin the tournament. When you watch them play enough, you're like, how are they an NCAA tournament team? There's teams in their own conference that aren't going to go that are better than they are. But analytics say let them in.
They beat Florida. That's it. Like they lost to Duke. They lost to North Carolina. They don't have any really impressive wins and 9 losses. As you said, you know what it comes down to? It's almost just hard to say, like, how the hell is a 3rd seed team of the ACC not getting into the NCAA tournament? But I'm with you. I watched them, and they're not – I guess they could be good. I don't know. I can't rip them. I bet on them, right? So I don't want to be one of these people. I don't want to bet on them. But, I just don't understand their stupidity. Like, how the hell do you not ice this game? NC State are tired too, Rob. Like, they were on the ropes, bro. It was over. It's like you guys are up by 6 and 7 with a minute left. It's over. But brick, from the free throw line. 92-77 Florida right now. Let's go. Give it the old college try. Keep it going here, man. We're not there yet, but we're getting close, Rob. 92-77 is the score there. 27-23. Colorado's leading Washington State. You know, Rob, you and I like to bet overs, but one thing is we're seeing as these kids play multiple games in days, it catches up. We're seeing some low-scoring games tonight.
Yeah, and the Colorado-Washington State game sort of, I think you could kind of lean that way, because if there's 2 coaches in that league, Kyle Smith and Tad Boyle, kind of predicate themselves on defense. And so you could almost see that matchup going that way. I'm trying to recall the earlier matchups this season. I can't off the top of my head, but and maybe a second half breakout is in order. Who knows? But certainly those 2 coaches coach a little bit of defense. And how happy are they that, Tommy Lloyd coaches Arizona right into an exit again, and now you get Dana Altman tomorrow against the winner of this game. Crazy, but Dana Altman's season looked like it had been such a fiasco, and all of a sudden it could turn out to be a NCAA conference tournament.
An automatic bid.
Yeah,
an automatic bid and winning the last ever Pac-12 tournament too would be a nice little feather in the cap on the way out. One game that really turned, I was patting myself on the back. San Diego State have pulled away on Utah State, 78-68 right now, man. This Aztecs team is resilient, man. UNLV played their hearts out yesterday too.
Yeah, they got me yesterday good. I thought San Diego State would be a good first half play. They were laying 2. They had just lost to UNLV a few days before in Thomas and Mack. Deion Thomas took over that game. I think it was 58-58 with a minute left, and he scored the final 4 points. I just thought that with 4 returning starters from the national title team and the way they play perimeter defense, they would be able to handle UNLV first half, be a little bit angry. They came in on 2 straight losses, but wasn't to be. Give UNLV credit. And I'll tell you what, Gabe, the money came in heavy on San Diego State today. I kept looking at them saying, why is there so much money coming in? I mean, no money on Utah State. And, of course, they got behind early by 13, the Aztecs did, and they've stormed back to take charge of that game.
And, of course, now NC State and Virginia get to overtime, and neither of them can be stopped. They're already up to 131. They've scored they're going back. They're trading buckets now in overtime now. Of course they are. Man, this big dude on NC State's a load to deal with. The mound rounder rebound.
He is.
Colorado State and New Mexico. New Mexico minus 150 on the money line, minus 2.5 total, 154.5. What do you think of this one?
I think I'm so happy that I bet it this morning at 152.5 because it's done nothing but go up all day long. I'll tell you why I bet it, Gabe, but it's not a real statistical reason because both regular season games went under this particular number, right? But I'll say this. I'm watching last night, and before the game starts, I had New Mexico last night in that game. Richard Pitino tells the television analyst and host and play-by-play guy before the game, this is a play-in game. If we win, we're in. Game ends. New Mexico does win. The analyst comes out the half court, interviews Jalen House. He says, how good does it feel to be in the tournament now? And I'm thinking to myself, how do they know they're in the tournament? What if they get beat by 20 tomorrow? And so when I'm thinking about this game today, I thought, New Mexico probably played as they're not a great defensive team, right? But they played like their lives were at stake last night. And I just thought maybe there's a little let up on the gas, and this turns back into the 75 possession game that they're used to, up and down the floor. I don't think Colorado State's head coach Nico Medved was telling his guys we're automatically in if we make it this far. But I can see this game opening up and being played really fast here tonight with a lot of scoring. So, like I said, I don't think New Mexico will focus on the defensive end the way they did last night. They could win a high-scoring game, but I think it's going to be that way. And obviously the money does too. It's all the way up to like 155 now.
Yeah, I'm seeing a 154.5 and 2.5. I'm going to pull the trigger with Colorado State for a lot of what you just talked about. I like Colorado State in this game. And I was on Boise last night. I had Boise to win the tournament too at plus 650. But I'm going to go with the over in East Coast. You're going to stay up all night here. On the West Coast, I love these late starts. That's what I love about this time of the year, man. We're starting late tonight. Okay, looking at the overnight board here, you don't have to have an opinion on every game. I'm just going to throw these picks out, the numbers out here. Princeton late 9.5. Mitch Henderson, actually Princeton's coach, his name is coming up in conjunction with Michigan. Browner getting 9.5, totals 140.5. Vermont laying 7 against UMass Lowell. 133.5 is the number there. As far as the bigger conferences, Mississippi State and Auburn. Auburn are laying 8 points. The total is 142.5 in that one, Rob. VCU are 2.5-point favorites over St. Joe's. 139.5 is the total there. Purdue survived today against Michigan State. They're laying 6 to Wisconsin. Over under 143.5. We have more Ivy League action here with Yale and Cornell. Yale are -2. 152 is the total in that game. South Florida, I got South Florida actually at plus 500 to win that tournament. South Florida are -3 with an over 145. Duquesne are 1-point favorites against the Bonnies with a 134.5. Anything catch your eye overnight here, Rob?
Well, I'll say this. As much fun as I make of Matt Painter, and I was with a friend of ours on the show today, Joe Ranieri, and me and Joe have a running joke. Matt Painter, Rick Barnes, wake up and fade. It happened again today, and you can throw Tommy Lloyd in that bunch. But as much as I do poke at Matt Painter at this time of year, I think I'll be on Purdue tomorrow. Just don't know how Wisconsin's made it through the first round. And they've looked good doing it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're good enough to do it 3 days in a row. So I'll probably be on Purdue. And I'm going to give you the one for us, Gabe. I mean, I couldn't believe this when this number came out, and I'm going to get on it probably as we speak or when I come off the show. UTEP and Western Kentucky total 145. Are we serious with that number? I'm showing 145 for the number there. And two fastest teams. First of all, Western Kentucky is the fastest tempo team in the nation. Never mind just their conference. But UTEP
I was on it today,
Yeah, and UTEP's looked really, really good in this tourney. So I'll wind up playing that. And I haven't seen I'm trying to look right now for the UConn number.
Yeah, me too. The book I have has it off the board. Let me pop up another one. Same thing. It says not listed yet. Man,
let me
UConn
tell
were
you.
impressive today. I'm going to get
Well,
done
let me
checking
tell you
another
real
book here.
quick. Sometimes it pays to watch post-game press conferences. I mean, I made more money on that game today, St. John's, Connecticut, than I've made on any game in the last, being honest, maybe 15 years. Rick Pitino
Wow.
comes out after the game yesterday, after they had won, and they're interviewing him, and he says, you know what? I told the kids today, go out and score 100. He said, I don't want my kids in the half-court set anymore, overthinking things when they get into the half-court. I want them to run, play free-flowing, 94-foot basketball. I looked back. They've scored over 80-plus in 6 straight heading into today. I said, you know what? Danny Hurley's not going to be afraid to run with them. I had Connecticut team total over, first half over, full game over for my lungs, all 3, and they were the easiest 3 bets I might have won all year. So thank you, Rick Pitino, for telling me the final score before the game started a day in advance. But you don't get that very often, right? These coaches aren't telling you what they're going to do at this time of year if they're going to switch up philosophies. And St. John's could be a handful in the tourney, Gabe, just something to look forward to. They get in, and they're going to be up and down the floor because that team seems to have responded.
Though, considering how well they played today against UConn and this week, and their winning streak coming into this, I think they have played themselves into this, at least. I mean, at the very least, the first 4. And here it is. It's about to happen, guys. Virginia blew the lead late. NC State are about to win. They're up 69-65, and they're going to the free throw line with 22 seconds left. What a choke job by Virginia.
Yeah, I mean,
I wonder if this chokes them out of the tournament or they get thrown in the first 4 now.
You know, it's hard to get mad at the coach. He is what he is, but I think that style of play has come and gone, Gabe. I mean, I can't watch Virginia play. It just makes me nuts. But then again, I'm an older guy.
No, but at some point, you have to get some scores.
Right.
You can't be losing. You can't even hit freaking free throws at the end. Let me ask you, got about less than a minute here, Rob. Let me ask you about Indiana State. Everybody loves the kid because he's got goggles, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar here. And it would be a shame if they don't get in. Their resume kind of really does suck. Do you think? I don't think they're going to get in, and maybe they get in the sympathy, the 4 in Dayton, but a lot of these teams have played well. Like St. John's played well. Pitt have played well. A lot of these teams have played themselves into the tournament. And I got to tell you, it'll be a nightmare for a lot of teams if NC State somehow wins tomorrow against North Carolina, because North Carolina are going to the dance still, right? What about Indiana State? Are they a tournament team, or only because the kid wears goggles that people talk about him?
First off, the kid with the goggles, Avila, he was an absolute waste against Missouri State. He found guys down low that could absolutely pack his shot, and it was a bad. But I don't think they make it, Gabe. In all honesty, I don't think they make it.
Great to have you back, Rob. Glad you're feeling better.
You can worry about Kentucky's maturity. I get it. Are you making a good point about it? Absolutely. They're young. They're inexperienced. They're going to make a ton of mistakes. Sometimes you can worry about their defensive tenacity. But boy, they got shot creators and they got shot makers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Betting in game, there's a big difference, right? Like the computer changes the number so often. Like I tried to get this in right now, but in reality, as I saw plus 165 in the arena, they're hitting the shot, and I'm getting this like a couple of seconds late. And even the sports book, like technology can only travel so fast.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
How about this? Nikola Jokic, heavy favorite here to -170 price, followed by SGA at +250, and Luka Doncic at a 7-1 price.
It would require a whole lot from Luka to 15 of the next 20 games he has to have triple doubles, something absurd. And it really just comes down to Jokic being amazing, doing everything he's doing. I hate to say it, but he's probably had this locked up the second Embiid was announced out.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Thanks to Rob Vino for kicking with us on the Friday Night Freak Show. Hawaii and UC Davis have just tipped off right now. We're going to pull the trigger on Hawaii plus the points, and I've got to restart the app here and restart the phone. It happens a couple of times a day. We're betting away all day. It gets locked up or whatever, and I just find it's easier just to restart everything. Instead, I don't have time to log in. I'm like, yeah, just restart the damn phone. But we're going to get it on Hawaii here. Hawaii and UC Davis have just tipped off. Arlington and Tarleton State are ready to tip off here. Let's pull the trigger on over 144.5 in that game, as we were just talking with Rob Vino. Colorado and Washington State. Second half just started, and Colorado are quickly scoring here. They're off to a 4-0 jump, little bump here to start. Suddenly, Colorado are up 31-23. We're on the Buffs. I thought the number was a little light. It was 121.5. I wanted to get in on that, but it really is just like craziness with all this college basketball, even in the late night hours here. But this is it. It's going to slow down over the weekend. We're going to have all the conference championship games, and then bracket. The bracket's going to be out Sunday night. Selection Sunday is 6 o'clock Eastern time. And for those of you want to tune in, I'm going to be on with Pat Mayo on Sunday night. I'll tweet out where it's on. I'm not really sure if it's I'm not really sure what network it's on, where it is. He's doing a special live bracket thing. I'm going to be a guest. I'm coming on with him. It's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday night. I haven't been on with Pat Mayo in a little while, so I look forward to it. And I look forward to seeing this bracket and how it plays out. But let me get these bets in. So we're on Temple. Temple are winning 53-47 right now over Charlotte. The craziness continues. The run is continuing. See, this is good that I didn't get this bet in right away because already Hawaii are getting 4.5 points against UC Davis because it's only because it's 5-2. Now it's 7-2, but they just locked it on me. And let's pull the trigger here. Arlington, Tarleton State over the number. Let's roll, baby. Level 3 coming up. More picks.